Welcome back to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast, your place for all things tech in your online business with some solid hits of general biz chat too. My name is Patty Meyer, and I am the CEO and founder of Biz Magic, where my team and I support entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed by the back-end tech of their business. We create, implement, and teach the tweaks that help our clients make a bigger impact with less stress. Today, we're talking about something that so many entrepreneurs and general businesses need, but often struggle to define, and that's alignment. Specifically, how to align your business offers and operations with your natural strengths so that your business supports you instead of draining you. If you've ever felt stuck or scattered or burned out from trying to follow somebody else's blueprint, this episode will offer you a new perspective. We're exploring what it means to build a business that actually fits you, your energy, your purpose, the way you work best, all of that good stuff. And our guest today brings a powerful blend of strategy, insight, and intuitive tools to help entrepreneurs do just that. Matalya Onuoha helps women step into their true purpose and create lives of authentic alignment. As a certified human design specialist and integrative alignment coach with a bachelor's in psychology, she blends human design, neurolinguistic programming, also known as NLP, and energy work to guide clients in overcoming self-doubt and reconnecting with their inner wisdom using her prosperity alignment framework called the Rewrite Method. With expertise in holistic personal transformation, Matalya supports women in unlocking clarity, building genuine confidence, and designing lives and businesses that truly reflect who they are meant to be. Her guiding principle remains clear. Alignment is the prerequisite to abundance. So, as we chat today, Matalya and I are going to explore human design as a business tool, how to simplify your offers, and how to create more ease and clarity in your operations so your business feels more sustainable and your growth feels more aligned. Let's dive in. Hey, Matalya, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too. It's not a topic that a lot of people that I personally, I've never had anybody on the podcast to talk about it, but it is important. So I'm really excited. So tell me first and the audience just a little bit about you and how you got into doing the work that you are doing.
Okay. Well, I'm an integrative alignment coach and human design specialist. So, what that means is I use a lot of different modalities. I am certified in neurolinguistic programming, neuroenergetic encoding, hypnosis, EFT tapping. I use all of that, but then I pair it with human design. And coaching's kind of it didn't fall into my lap. It was one of those things where I remember when coaching started getting popular, I'm like, is that like a real job? Like, do people do that? But somehow I ended up coaching. But in the process of growing my business and figuring out like the type of coach I wanted to be and who I wanted to serve, I discovered human design. And the minute like I discovered it, I was like, oh, this is like my thing. Like this has to be something I incorporate because I find it's so powerful, so useful and just helping people find clarity. It's one of
Mm.
those things where when you discover your design, if it resonates with you, it's like this aha moment of all the weird, funky stuff about me that I thought was wrong, all the struggles that I had. That's because that's how I was designed to be. That's how, not how I work. This is how I work. And it gives you that
Mm.
guideline. So that's kind of how I found human design and how I incorporate it into my coaching now.
Wow, okay. That's great. So, for anybody who doesn't know what human design is, can you talk a little bit about that and then how it plays into business?
Yeah. So human design is a self-knowledge system. It incorporates the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and pairs it with quantum physics and a little bit of genetics.
Oh.
So it's like all the stuff.
That's
And
interesting. I've never
isn't
heard of
it?
like I don't know that I've ever had anybody explain what it is. I just hear human design, human design. I'm a manifestor generator, like,
hmm
and I'm like, I don't know. Okay, so that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go
It
ahead.
pulls
Sorry.
in, no, it's fine. It pulls in all the pieces. So
Oh,
like you said, I'm a manifestor, I'm a generator. I wasn't going to explain this, but I will since you mentioned it. There are five types in human design. So, unlike astrology, where we all know, like you probably know, like you're a Pisces or a Gemini or whatever, there are five types, and each type has like this cosmic role to play, and we all work together, and each type is meant to support the others in a different way. So, when you're living your design, you're living in alignment with your purpose, you're literally doing what you're meant to do, and you're supporting all the others, and the other types are who you call into your environment. So I'm a projector. I'm here to be a guide. I am here to most work with generators and manifesting generators. So for example, if I look at my email list, who is mostly from like TikTok, right? Like it's mainly just people who don't really know me. They found me online and they maybe downloaded a freebie or something. It is like 80% generators and manifesting generators. And these are people like that I mostly haven't met, right? The people I've met are it's a lot smaller pool. So I just am naturally, people are naturally attracted to me of those types. And that's because of my design. That's because of my aura.
interesting.
Isn't it interesting? So it's a self-knowledge system, and we're all here to play these like cosmic roles and work with each other. And so, in terms of business, what it does is it helps you kind of find clarity in who you serve, how you're meant to serve them, and also how to manage your energy in that process and do your work in the way that best works for you. Because if you're not following your design, I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually. I feel like I have faith in everyone. Eventually, you'll figure out what works for you. But I feel like
Right.
it's like this shortcut into figuring out what's going to work for you. And not only a shortcut into what's going to work for you, but as I said, it's giving you understanding and clarity on why certain things may not have worked and why you're finding so much struggle in certain areas when you try different strategies or things that you've picked up or been told to do.
So when you understand your human design and pair it with your business, it really basically gives you another level of information that can help you decide the best offers to put out there and
Yes.
understand better who your people are, not just who you have always thought your people are, but who is actually most drawn to you and what you're offering.
Exactly. And it's like who's energetically drawn to you. So, as I mentioned, I'm a projector. Projectors are, they're guides and they give out wisdom. And my whole life, people have told me I was bossy, right? I'm the oldest. My whole life, I was like, oh, you're so bossy. Um, like I naturally gravitate into leadership roles. Like my first job, I was like 16 rolling pretzels and I was a manager within like 6 months in high school, group projects. I'm the lead. And it's
That
just naturally my right
me
my
too,
energy
me
is
too. Yeah, that's why
yeah.
it's funny. 6 months, my first job. I was a
Yeah,
yeah.
within 6 months. So I'm always thinking, well, it's because I'm so like yes, I'm so wonderful, but also if I look at my chart, if I look at my human design chart, one is a projector, I'm here to be a guide. But two, so leadership roles kind of naturally I fall into that. But I have a defined root center, and the root is ambition. And it's unconscious for me. So I don't even think about striving for greatness, if that's like not necessarily the phrase I want to use, but I
Yeah.
just naturally gravitate towards those roles. It would be odd for me. I get uncomfortable if I sit in a certain role for too long. I'm like, I need to be doing more. I've mastered this. It's time to move on. That's
Right.
part of my design. So it just gives understanding to that. And it also helps you understand, like you mentioned, like how to work with people and like how to know if the opportunity is right for you and to go for them. So
Mm,
if we talk like this conversation, for example, I didn't Google you and find you online and say, hey, do you want a podcast guest? That's not my vibe. It's not
right.
comfortable for me. As a projector, I wait for invitations. So I see invitations out in the world. People have even energetic invitations. I've worked with clients who I offered them my services. They didn't ask for me to work with them, but I could like hear
Yeah.
them calling for for help energetically speaking. But waiting for invitations is my way of moving forward and making sure I'm making the right choices. If I go and initiate things, it doesn't always work out. If I give advice without being asked, I'm called bossy and told to mind my own business.
Right.
But if people ask me, what do you think about this? Or what do you see in this? And I offer that, then my wisdom is recognized. And so I feel successful, and that's me living my purpose.
That is super fascinating. I also always, and it's something I kind of laugh off and joke about, is I always end up in management roles, always. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter what I do, I somehow, and it's because for me, and I've always been like, it's because I like to be in control. That's all. Like, it's a control issue, you know? Like,
Maybe it is.
and so it's interesting because I'd be interested, right? I'm sure it is for sure. But I also wonder, like, what other aspects of myself are playing a role in that then
Hmm.
potentially. Like, it's interesting. You make
Yeah,
me
it's
think hearing you
understanding.
say it
Like
that way. Yeah.
I've never given a reading to someone and had them be like, whoa, I didn't know that about myself because we mostly know ourselves,
Right.
but it's this clarity and this like, oh, I get it and fine tuning
Yeah.
and permission to be yourself. Like
Yeah.
I never accepted the bossy role personally. I never thought I was bossy because to me, bossy has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But after understanding my design, I understood more the importance of waiting for the right invitations before I offered guidance, support, wisdom, because it 100% has backfired before when I
Yeah.
offered my opinion when it wasn't invited in. Whereas I know other people who can just say whatever they want to say, and people are like, oh my goodness, that's so smart of you. And then I say it, and they're like, whoa, Natalia, calm down. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's my design, though. That's my energy. That's my aura and how it's conveyed and how it's felt by the people around me.
Yeah. Fascinating. So having yourself in your business in alignment with this sort of, so when you start to understand this, you can put yourself in alignment. And so what does it look like? So let's say we have people who are out there who, whether or not they're aware of their human design, and their natural skills in that way. But I think that, like you said, we kind of can find our way there also without knowing
Hmm.
it from that perspective. So what does it look like if somebody is maybe in alignment versus out of alignment with their business and their natural strengths?
Yeah. Each type has its own signature theme and not self theme. So I'm going to use that language to answer your
Okay.
question. If you're, for example, a generator's signature theme. So generators, by the way, are here to do work that serves them, that lights them up, that feels really good. They can go for days doing projects and things that they love. So if they're doing work that's out of alignment, if some part of it is like, I should do this, not that I want to do this or I love to do this, they're gonna feel really frustrated. Like it's this deep sense of frustration. And if they're in alignment, so things are moving well, they're doing work that serves them, they're really happy, they're responding to the right things and taking up these opportunities, they're going to feel the sense of satisfaction with their work. And it's like, it's a sense of satisfaction that I, as a projector, will never know because it's just different. It's how they feel it in their bodies. As a projector, I feel success. Like, and it's true. Like, if I get stuff done, I'm like, yeah, I'm the best. Like, I feel like so successful.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm out of alignment, doing things that don't work for me, following strategies that aren't really aligned, it's bitterness. And when I first heard that, I'm like, bitter is such a strong word, but it's absolutely true. Like I identify with that word so heavily. Like when I heard it, I was like, that's a good descriptor. Like I feel truly bitter. I'm like, what the heck is this for? Like, why am I even doing this? Like it's like I get bitter. Manifestors are another type, and they are initiators. They're trendsetters. They're kind of here to do things their own way, do it fast, and they get angry. So when they're out of alignment, if they're being interrupted a lot because they're here to move fast, so if you're blocking their path and getting in their way and they're not able to get stuff done, there's anger there. My oldest son is a manifester, and I can attest he gets angry anytime I interrupt his like projects. He's like, "What the heck?" And I'm like, "Whoa, calm down, kid." Um, and if you're in alignment, though, then you feel a sense of peace. It's this when they're in their own energy, for example, a manifester is typically like just chill, like they're very peaceful. It's when they went with others and they maybe are amplifying that energy that the anger comes in, or if they're being, like I said, stopped or slowed down from living out their dreams. We also have reflectors who are our cosmic mirrors. They feel these sense of surprise and delight. They're supposed to wait a lunar cycle to make big decisions. So if they're rushing through things, they're not listening to themselves, they're going to be constantly disappointed. And that's like a feeling I'm sure no one would ever want to have. So
Right.
that's like the human design terminology. So essentially it's literally just when you're not happy. Like to simplify it, if you're not happy, and again, it's like I said, I feel like human design on some level is like so basic. Like, well, of course, it's just like you're unhappy. But the trick is like knowing your type because then you can really quickly get to the root of that dissatisfaction, that unhappiness.
Mm,
So, generator, for example, who's doing lots of work in their business and they're feeling like this is all stuff I should be doing and it's working, but for some reason they're just constantly frustrated. Maybe things aren't moving fast enough, it's not the right people. Then a generator might want to pause and say, well, wait, why am I doing this? Is it
right.
something that I should do because it needs to get done? Or is it something that I wanted to do? Is it something that someone told me to do and so I'm following this strategy? Or is it something that's really aligned with me? And if it's a should, that's probably the problem. Like, yeah, it needs to get done, but are you really the person who has to do it? Can you delegate it? Is it something that has to get done right now? Can you wait until it's a better time for you? And you'll find that those feelings dissipate. And it might be some not be something that you recognize in the moment because it's like, well, of course I should be posting online. But do you really need to post online every day or do you need to post less frequently? And do you need to do it or does someone else need to do it? Because you might even enjoy the particular task, but it's draining your energy in a way that's making you feel frustrated.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting. And so we hear, especially like in the online business world and entrepreneurs, we hear a lot about like different assessments and things like that. And
Mhm.
like Colby A and the Gallup strengths and all of this. So how does this like fit in that? Is it kind of a totally different thing because it's kind of based in this other realm, whereas those are more, and if you don't know, that's okay too.
Mhm.
But like, and those are maybe more of a like they take your logical skills. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like, have you heard it
Yeah.
compared in that way at all, or what does that sound like? Because
I
people
pair it
know
that way
that.
loosely in that I say it's a self-knowledge system and I feel like those are the same way. Like I did the disc assessment, right? That's the one
Yeah.
with the colors, right? And I forgot what my color was. I was like green and something else. And I aligned with that. I was like, yeah, I kind of am. And but other people were like, oh, you're green. I was like, yeah, I am. What you got to say about it, right? But it's because it's because in human design, you have something called a profile line. So we have the types, which you're familiar with, but the profile is a little bit deeper. It's how you're seen by the world and how you see yourself. So
Yeah.
the world was seeing my line three, which is kind of like always trying and failing, experimenting, doing different things. Weren't necessarily seeing like my line one, right? It's they're seeing one aspect of me and but I can see the whole picture of myself.
Right.
So I would say that they all kind of work for what they're there for. Like if you're more like logical and less like woo-woo and astrology, chakras, like what? Like maybe that's not
Right.
for you. Then yeah, lean towards those. However, I will say I work with a variety of people. Like I meet my clients in a variety of ways. I've worked with therapists and nurses, and I've worked with influencers, people who don't necessarily even follow astrology or anything like that, who
Yeah.
are religious and who are non-religious. And if I offered, I've never offered it to someone like offer a reading, I mean, or to run their chart and to incorporate that into our coaching because it's optional. I just love to use it. I've never offered it and had someone tell me no. And every time I have offered it and gone through it with them, they've always been extremely impressed. They've always felt seen and they've always been like, wow, like there's something from this I can take away. Even if I don't dig deep and fall in love with it fully, at the very least, I can follow my strategy and authority, which is what I say if you do nothing else but follow your strategy and authority, you can do no wrong. Like you're going to live a
Mm.
blessed life because it's
Yeah.
literally how you're meant to make decisions and go about your day to day. So everything else will fall into place automatically if you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, any tool that you can use to learn yourself better and make more informed decisions is amazing. And I love me some woo.
Exactly.
So I'm like, that's why I was excited to talk to you because I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah. So you talk about the danger of good advice versus aligned wisdom. So can you unpack that a little bit? And, if you have any real world examples or anything like that, kind of explain what that means.
hmm So good advice is like the stuff, like the shoulds, the stuff you should do, the stuff that you know is practical and reasonable and not crazy at all. So again, thinking about like business owners, people who are trying to get their businesses going, market research, right? Like of course you want to do market research. It's an
Right.
industry standard, but then that's like the good advice.
Yeah.
But truly, if we're using aligned wisdom and we're using your design, Certain types don't need to do market research. Manifestors, who I mentioned, they're trendsetters. They're here to do things different. They're here to figure stuff out that we don't even know about. So market research is a less helpful tool for them because it's not necessarily what do my people want. They don't know. Well, you're about to come up with something they didn't even know they needed. So that market research isn't going to be as supportive to your business and as a tool for you.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to check in if you're trying to fine tune it, but to get started, it's not necessarily going to be the most supportive item. Another example would be like posting. I mentioned posting. So when I first started my business, I signed up for, completed like an online marketing course. It's a fabulous course. I would actually highly recommend it to anyone who wants to use social media to grow their business. I learned so much, gained so much wisdom, and I had such a terrible time applying it. Just awful. And
Mhm.
I was constantly like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, I know I'm not lazy, so like, what's the problem? Because I just don't have enough time. This isn't working for me. And I was feeling so bitter because I wasn't growing in the way I wanted to grow online. I was gaining followers, but they weren't the right followers. I found it very hard, very draining. I was always tired and I was growing my business at the same time. I'm like working a full-time job and doing all of this work. When I discovered my human design, it took a while. It really, I'll be honest, it took a while before I accepted it. But as a projector, I'm just not meant to work all the time, and posting consistently on social media, like every day, it's just not for me.
Right.
Maybe it's something I could delegate out, but it's just like not something that is supportive to my energy. If I was in love with it, I could maybe batch. But again, I was trying to do the things that like the good advice told me to do that I'd seen so many people being successful with. But
Right.
in truth, the aligned wisdom was for me to follow my energy and to, as an emotional projector, meaning if I really don't feel like it, that I really shouldn't be doing it, to honor that instead of doing the work that I should do. And eventually I burnt out. I crashed. I fell off the internet for almost a year. Well, I figured it out. Then I tried again. Same approach, different teacher, thinking, oh, well, it'll be better this time.
Right.
Still failed, still crashed out. And I didn't actually start seeing success and growth in my business until I completely just like gave up online. So what happens is now you see, like I do posts, like I don't not post. I post on social media, but it's not a tool for my growth for my business. It's this extra so people know I'm alive and
Right.
learn a little bit about me. And if
Yeah.
I'm doing an event, then I'll post about it just so it's there. But it's not a tool for growth in my business. So I'm still using it. The good advice says that's what I should be using as my main focus. But the aligned wisdom is my energetics don't align with that. I need a slower, more layered approach that allows me to ebb and flow and do things literally as I feel like it, which means that posting 5 times a week, even twice a week, is just not in the realm for me because I can't do it consistently. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What I really like about what you're saying is it's very much in alignment with a lot of the things that I sort of preach,
Mhm.
which is that each person has to build a business that makes sense for them. And that's exactly what we're talking about here is it saying do what feels right for you, do what's authentic for you, do what lights you up, what is the right thing for you, what you're aligned to do, because that's what's going to make you the most successful. But the reality is that, and this is something for me that I've been telling my clients forever, is yes, you could force yourself to post 3 times a week, but if you're just posting whatever just to post, the people that you're posting to are going to feel that. They feel that energy and they're
Exactly.
not going to be drawn to whatever it is you're trying to offer. So don't do that.
Hmm.
I look at it the same way as far as like I try and Biz Magic was consistent on social media when I was paying somebody to help me do that. But when I'm not, I don't, it's just not, it doesn't light me up. It makes me so drained like to even think about having to do it. I'm just like I literally
I
shut down.
I know. I just was out just thinking about it. I have an event coming up. I usually post around events. I have an event in a couple of weeks. So I messaged the where the host is and I was like, I'm gonna start posting soon. I'll post a couple of posts, but I've actually had to cancel events with places because what I do is I host workshops and then when I do it, I use help, they use their marketing, I use my marketing, but I've had to cancel events at places because the owners wanted me to post online all the time.
Okay.
And I go in telling them, I don't do that. So like I'm hoping that you're going to share it with your email list and you'll post and I will closer to the event time once or twice, but I'm not going to be sharing it for like months leading up.
Yeah.
And I've literally had to cancel events because they heard me, but they didn't really hear me. Like they didn't
Right.
understand how serious I was about that because it felt forced. It was draining. And then I was just like, I can't do it. So I've had to cancel. And it was upsetting in that I love to get out there and meet people, but it's also like very much the right thing for me to do and the right thing for them because if they are expecting more and greater things and I can't offer that, then we're not an energetic match.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of that same thing of not everybody's right for you, you're not right for everybody,
Hmm.
and that's not a bad thing.
Exactly.
And so I think that this is really on that same wavelength of that, of really just building a super authentic business that fulfills you, that lights you up, that is in alignment with who you are and what your strengths are. And that's exactly what I mean, I think it's so important to do that because otherwise, what is the point of doing your like go work for somebody then and get your
Exactly.
401k and your like that's how I feel is like get those perks if you're gonna do it for somebody else. But if you're gonna do it for yourself because it's freaking hard,
Hmm.
like then do it for yourself and
Yeah.
make it feel good.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like I'm literally telling you it's okay just to do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay just to do the fun stuff. Like some of the stuff that's not so fun, yeah, okay, you got to get behind it and you might have to do it, but you don't just heavily focus your energy on it. And there are ways to still work it in your business. Like you're not going to sit alone in the dark in your room and maybe you are, right? And have people just come to you. I shouldn't say that because maybe
Right.
there's some people
Who
in your business.
knows?
Who knows? But generally speaking, if like social media is not for you, then it's not for you. And that's okay. Do what works for you and then do what you can in the other areas whenever you can, what you
Yeah.
can when you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we put all in and worked so hard on BizMagic social media for so long. And I just could not, I didn't get growth there. Exactly like you were saying. I resonated fully with what you were saying. And I kind of hit that point where I'm like, cool, then it's just for people to have a place to see that I'm up, I'm running, I'm still doing things. But it's not a place that I'm gonna like out of all the years I've been doing it, the number of qualified leads I've gotten from Instagram, I can count on one hand. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's okay then. So cool. Why would I continue to put my energy there instead of nurturing my list or doing my podcast or doing other things,
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
things that light me up, that make me feel great and give me new connections and networking and genuine relationships, which is what I thrive in. So I really love what you're talking about there. And so when we relate it back to business and so because you do coaching within this, right?
Hmm.
And specifically business coaching, right? Within human
Yeah.
design.
Yep. Figuring out your purpose and then building a business around it are like the two veins of my coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how do you, when you're doing that, kind of work with somebody to build their offers, right? Their services and their offers to make them feel really lit up and aligned by what they're offering. And kind of like you're saying, you're giving people permission to not do all the things all the time. So, how do
Mhm.
you allow them and support them in making it more simplistic? Like, what is your process when you look at that and we start incorporating human design in our business offerings?
Yeah, there's two main things. There there are lots of things, but there's two main things. So the first thing is your type, so like which is basically telling me your energetic makeup, just like how much energy you have to do this work. Like, are you a generator? That means you have lots of energy. Maybe you can do lots of group work because you have the energy to handle like a bunch of people at one time. Or are you a manifestor or a projector? So you don't have consistent access to energy, meaning you want to maybe do smaller, nuanced package one-on-one clients, one group at a time, one small like a mastermind or a micromind, not necessarily a group of like 20 people because you just don't have the energy to sustain that. So there's that, like just your energetics, like how much energy do you have to put into this work? And then there's also your centers. So I mentioned that human design incorporates the chakra system. So in human design, there are 9 centers, and each center mirrors a chakra essentially. And so like there's the root and there's the sacral and then your solar plexus and so on. But in human design, you have this closed centers and open centers. A closed center, if you look at your chart, there's color in there. It's fully colored. So if like you run your chart on my website, my colors are, what are my colors? Purple and black. So your centers are going to be purple. If there's no color there, so it's white, then it's an open center. A defined center or a closed center is one where you have consistent access to that energy. Like it's yours, you're always going to have it. I, for example, have a defined emotional solar plexus, which means I regulate my emotions pretty well. Like, yes, I get angry, I get sad, but I'm not like hugely high, lowly lows. And when I am upset, I can usually calm myself down and regulate that fairly quickly. Whereas if you have an open emotional solar plexus, you're taking in the energy from other people and amplifying it. So if I'm sitting at a 5 and you're around me, you might take that 5, turn it up to a 10, and you're running out of 10 as long as you're in my energy until you're able to come down and you leave. And I mentioned the centers because in human design, your open centers are called your profit centers. So it's literally like where you make the money.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it's because those open centers, because you have so many ups and downs, your inconsistent energy, you probably had to work with it a lot to figure out like what's you versus what's other people, and you've mastered it. One of my mentors, this is her example, so but she uses it, she calls it akin to like good skin, bad skin. And I'll use my family as an example or myself. When I was a kid, had good skin. I got one pimple. I remember the day. I went out and got oxy pads. I was like, you're gone. And then that was it. I just never have had to worry about my skin. So I
Wow.
don't know anything about good skincare. It's just not something that's been something I've been focused on. My sister, on the other hand, had really bad acne when she was growing up. So she knew all the different products. She knew what to eat. She knew what to put on her skin and what time to put it on her skin. This product has this, but this one has that. Oh, if I pair these two together, then I get this reaction. So now she's really wise in skincare. At this point, if I need any help, any questions, I'm going to go to her because she knows what she's talking about, right?
Right.
That's how your centers are in human design. If you have an open emotional solar plexus, I just told you, you might be up and down with your emotional waves. You're around other people, you're taking in their energy. You're an empath, essentially. You're amplifying it. That over time makes you really wise on emotional regulation and working with that. That is a tool that you can then use to turn it into your business if that's what you feel like where you want to go. You get where I came? I went full
Yeah.
circle there. Yeah.
It's super fascinating.
Yeah. So your open centers are your profit centers. Now, this also comes into play with like, well, what do you like to do too, right? So it's what do you like to do? It's your type. Because again, like generators are here to do work. So that's going to tell you how many products you can offer in your suite, how many people maybe you want to work with at one time. You could probably fill up your calendar. Whereas a manifestor, projector, reflector might want to have more spaciousness within their day. They're only meant to do a couple hours of work per day. And then where your open centers, because you're probably really wise there, or even where your defined centers, because your defined centers are where you're drawing in people who are open and where your open centers are you're drawing in people who are defined. So it's looking at that combination and how it all works together. And it's a pretty kind of straightforward approach, but once you master it, it's like there's no end to the amount of work you could do. It's like whatever makes you happy. And I always suggest starting off small and slow. Think of it like a luxury clothing store or something like that. Like there's shelves and they're widely spread out. You have a few items, but they're high quality items. You're not packing it in like a
Right.
Walmart would have like a ton of
Right.
variety, but it's poor quality. So start off slow, and then as you get used to your methods, as you find the right people, as you get into your flow, then you can add more and more until you find this like that saturation point
Mhm.
where you're good, and maybe it's time to up level to raise your business to hire in people and move on.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, the way that you're talking about it, I'm really, obviously, I'm gonna do my chart. This is over, like,
Absolutely, you should. Yeah.
because I'm just like, I'm hearing all these things. I'm like, oh, that's how, oh, I do that. Oh, I'm not like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, what am I? What am I like? Yeah, as I'm listening to you describe everything, I'm thinking about, putting myself in. I think it's really interesting. And I love looking at it from that perspective of sort of saying, basically take your time getting used to getting in alignment with yourself and then allow it to kind of go from there. But also knowing, having that understanding of how you work best, how many hours you work best, and where your
Hmm.
energy goes. It's similar to, like, not exactly the same, obviously, but like when people are realizing that they have ADHD, right? And they've spent
Yeah.
their whole lives living in this certain way and feeling bad about themselves because they don't have this unlimited amount of energy to do things and they have waves of it, or just the varying types of all of that. And then when you kind of, it's almost like a validation, right, of like, okay,
Yes.
this is exactly explains why I am the way that I am and how now can I take this and optimize myself and my life and my business to support myself in the ways that I work best. And so I really love that aspect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So how, when you're using human design, how do you kind of balance that with other like traditional business strategies, right? Because obviously we love the woo and incorporating it, but when we're in business, there are other aspects of it that are, I don't want to say grounded because that doesn't sound right because
Yeah.
this isn't necessarily not grounded, but do you know what I mean? Like those
hmm
traditional business strategies.
I say I would just encourage anyone to follow the strategies that work best for them and consider your design when making those decisions, if that makes sense. So again, I'll use myself for an example. I started trying to grow my business online. That's how I did it because that's how I was told to do it. When I received my coaching certifications, they had a whole module on growing your business, and online was the way to do it. When I look at other coaches around me, people in my network, they're all growing their businesses online. But I, from the very beginning, knew that wasn't in alignment with me. But traditional business strategies say to do these things in this way. Eventually what happened was I had to find another way that worked better with my energy. And now I don't grow my business online. I do it through conversations like this. I host workshops, I do events, I do a lot of more in-person work. And it was something that I actually shied away from at first. But what I realized was one, as a projector, my design is very one-on-one energy. Also, this is a little deeper, but like I've tribal energy, meaning small groups are also kind of my jam. And I also love small groups. Like I love training people. I trained in the past. So it's not that you don't do traditional strategies. It's that you just find the ones that work best with your energy and you use your energy, you use your design as a guide to figure out what that is. I mentioned earlier, I'm a 1-3. 1-3 just means I'm an experimenter and I'm an investigator. The one is actually the investigator part. So, investigator and experimenter. So, I do a lot of research, a lot of digging, and it makes me comfortable to kind of feel like I know enough before I move on. And then also, I do a lot of experimentation. So, my path was always going to be one where I tried 100 things and failed before I was able to find the right thing for me. But knowing that helps me make it like I know it's okay for me to test a bunch of things. Like I've tried 5 different CRMs before I found the one I wanted. I didn't
Right.
just I did a lot of research on them, then I had to try them, then I see if it worked for me, and then I did it. So it's not like I don't use CRM tools because they're basic business practice. You need that to manage your clients. I don't just, hope to remember and they're going to come. I'm using these things, but how I figure out the ones that work for me, I go along with my design. But yeah, you're going to find the right strategy for you, and you can use your design as a guide. So every type has its own way of knowing how to make the right choices for itself. So there's different authorities. Emotional authority means you actually literally go in with your emotions. How do you feel about it? And you ride an emotional wave, and it depends on your design. And you would see when you ran your chart, it's going to tell you essentially if you're like single definition or split. If it's not single, every time it's like single, split, triple, so on means it's going to take a little bit longer. But essentially, you just ride that emotional wave and see how you feel about it. You might be sacral authority. So a generator or a manifesting generator will have sacral authority, meaning they're going to know right away. They're going to respond to something and it's going to feel like a uh-huh or uh-uh. And if you follow that, that's the right choice for you. So when you're looking at, well, do I post online or maybe I should go ahead and start doing like the workshops or maybe I should put flyers in my local store. If I ask you, do you want to post online like 3 days a week? And you go, then that's not for you. Move on. Like, don't sit and think about it and
Mhm.
debate because someone else told you to do it.
Right.
Your inner authority gave you the answer right away. And then if I say, well, what about, going to this networking event and then passing out business cards? Uh-huh. Okay, that's your way. Oh, but I'm afraid to meet people. No, you're in your head. You're not meant to think. You're meant to follow your body and your
Mm.
sacral go. Then you might have splenic authority, which is your instincts. Mental, meaning you are supposed to think about it, but more like talk it out, not necessarily asking for advice or guidance, but just speaking it out allows yourself to hear you thinking and it'll give you clarity onto the right one. So following your authority in human design will also teach you and show you over time which one of these standard strategies is going to work best for you. I ignored my authority for 2 years trying to build my business online because I thought it's what I had to do because it's what people did and it should work. And I have followers. Like I got up to 1,500 followers before I quit and killed that account and opened up a brand new like Instagram account. but it's because I was trying to follow traditional strategies, a strategy that works for so many people, just not for me. And I was
Right.
ignoring my own inner authority because I thought that all these other people knew better than my own body did.
Right. So, what are the reasons that I think I have not gotten into human design despite being in, I was even like in a group coaching program where they did some stuff with human design. And it's because even as I hear you speak about these things, like there's so much, right? It's like my lines
Hmm.
and my authority and like all these things. So, my question for you is if somebody is going to do their human design chart, when they get readings of that, like, do they need to hire somebody to understand all of these things, or is it clear sort of as you're doing it and they're reading through the results and things like what some of
Yeah.
this stuff means?
Yeah, never pay someone money if you don't want to. So not you do not have to pay for someone. You can I would not suggest, I will say this, I would not suggest using ChatGPT because I have found that it's not very accurate.
Hmm.
If you already know what you're talking about, you can use it for clarity and to help you out, but don't like
Yeah.
run your chart and then ask ChatGPT to interpret it. I find that it misinterprets things. It doesn't give you good information. There's enough other like real life people with free blogs and websites that you can use that you don't have to, myself included, that you can use to go to kind of learn the pieces. I would say the first step is to run your chart. Your chart's going to give you basic information, and there are a lot of resources. You can go to my website, rewritecoaching.co, and run your chart for free. And I'll give you your type, your strategy, your authority, and a bunch of other information. Ignore that other stuff. Learn what your type is and what it means to be whatever your type is. What if you're a generator, a projector, it'll tell you. And then your strategy and authority are again how you make decisions and how you know if you're on the right track. If I said it before, and I mean it with all my heart, if you do nothing but know your type and follow your strategy and authority, you can't go wrong. Again, I wasted 2 years in my business trying to build online because I wouldn't listen to my own authority, my emotional authority, which told me this isn't for me. I felt icky. I didn't want to do it, but I kept doing it because on paper it looks good to post a certain amount of times, post these types of posts, show up in your stories, make your it looked good. I
Yeah.
saw the value in it logically, but
Right.
it just wasn't working for me. So if you follow your strategy and authority, you literally can't go wrong. You can run it on my site, Javian Archive, the founder, the father of human design. His name is Ra Uruhu. The foundation who kind of owns those materials now is called the Javian Archive. They're very reputable. You can go there, run your chart for free there too. They have a whole resource library. So
Mhm.
once you are ready to start learning a little bit more about profile lines and gates and centers and like there's so many layers, my incarnation cross, which is like your life purpose, like what does that even mean, right?
Right.
You can you can learn about it on there. I have some blog posts, but again, you can just Google and you'll find like what
Okay.
does gate 32 mean? And Google will tell you. And I keep recommending Google over like even ChatGPT because you're going to find someone's blog. It's a real person. They've
Right.
written
An
it, and they're
article.
usually,
Yeah.
yeah, an article. And the top resources are usually like the most reputable ones, right? They're people who know their stuff. So
Yeah.
I would suggest starting with running your chart, learning what your type is, and then practice following your strategy and authority and reflect. Think about times when it tells you what your authority is and maybe your splenic authority, which is in like your instincts, right? The spleen kind of whispers once and then like disappears. It's like, gotta go take a left. Oh, you missed it, right? Or you listen and you're on and like, oh wow, this is there's a farmer's market here, and I've been wanting to go to a farmer's market. Like all of a sudden things like light up for your life.
Mhm.
Think about the times that you didn't listen to your instincts and it maybe fell apart or didn't work the way you wanted, and the times you did and you were like super surprised or happy, satisfied, felt so peaceful because it all worked out or it took you to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing that got you where you wanted to go. And I would bet you any amount of money that you're going to be able to find like dozens of examples when you see what your authority is and you're going to be like, "Oh my goodness, if I remember all these times that this happened and this worked out." And that would be you recognizing that that was your authority at play. And then the other thing you want to look at is your signature theme, which I mentioned before, which basically just is the signal that you're on the right track or not. So are you feeling bitter or are you feeling successful? Are you feeling
Right.
frustrated or are you feeling satisfied? Like those are the things. Those are the main things if you do nothing else. Type, strategy, authority, maybe your signature theme, but signature theme is just a fancy way of saying I don't feel good in this situation or I feel really good, like whatever that equals for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's so helpful. This has been super fun and super interesting. And because I love tech and, business things, do you have a favorite piece of technology that you use in your business, either with clients or just for yourself?
Yeah, I really love, I was mentioning this before, Coach Accountable, that's the CRM that I use for my client work. So I've tried a bunch of CRMs, and that's the one I found to be just, it's so clean and straightforward. It almost reminds me of like Notion. I also really love Notion, by the way. I use Notion. I use Notion quite a bit to kind of like manage my stuff, like my offers and pricing and ideas and link all that. And I link it to Google, to my Google Drive, and everything's in there. So I really love Notion as to like my day-to-day working tool to kind of house all that, my basically ideas and the building and creation of things. I love Coach Accountable as my CRM for client work. I find that it's just really nice. It's like intuitive. It knows everything.
Oh,
I got into it and it came pre-built with all the stuff I wanted because some of the other ones I found that they were really geared towards just other type of project work like event planners, and but this one is specifically for coaches. So it even tracks if you're I'm working towards my master coach certification for International Federation of Coaches, and it tracks your hours for that. So you need to have a
oh,
certain amount of
wow.
hours of coaching. It tracks that for you. It's just like so many cool little things that other people wouldn't think of. That's my CRM, Notion, and my Google Drive for keeping like things organized. I personally use Squarespace for my website because it's just so easy and clean. Like I didn't want to build
Same. Yeah.
I didn't want to build something. I wanted something that's easy, click and drag. I know there are other options out there, but that's my favorite for that. And that's it. Like I'm not high tech, I'm not low tech either. I'm
Yeah.
not afraid of tech, but those are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
If I
And you
had
don't
more
always need a
time.
ton of tech. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I had more time, I probably would start linking and building everything and creating, I don't know, automations with like all the different AI tools, which I also do love AI for help with creating copy, but I would never suggest anyone like just pluck a piece of copy out of the mouth of, Claude or ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever you're using. But I do find that it's really nice to use it as like the basis. Like I have
Yeah.
this idea, these are my thoughts. Can you put them together for me in a way that maybe I couldn't? And then take that out, edit it
Mhm.
yourself, make it your own so that it's actually
Yeah.
yours. And then, yeah, I find that ChatGPT, I use all of them together. I find like some are better for certain things than others. Those are really good for copy.
Yeah, yeah, I love using like ChatGPT for to help me brainstorm things and all rolling
Hmm.
when I feel stuck. Yeah, it's super
Yeah. I
so
like ChatGPT knows me.
yeah.
ChatGPT and I are besties. So ChatGPT will be like, Natalia, this is what you should write. But then I'll take that and I'm like, I don't think so. And then I'll edit it out and then I'll put it into Claude because I find that Claude is actually better at making things sound, I don't know,
I've heard
less
that. I've heard that.
AI.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then I'll give it to Claude and then Claude will make it and then I'll still tweak it again just because it's still not quite there. But I like doing that because again, I'm an experimenter. So I'll put the same piece of copy into five different tools until I figure between the four of us or six of us, we're gonna make it work. But if you want simplicity, I would just find the one that you like and use it. Yeah. But AI, I think, is a useful tool as well.
Yeah, I love it. This has been super, super fun, super enlightening, super interesting. If anybody wants to work with you, run their charts,
Mhm.
anything like that, how can they, and it'll be in the show notes, but I'd love for you to just say, how do we find you and work with you?
Yes. So as much as I'm lightly on social media, I am there. So you can find me on TikTok and Instagram, both at rewrite.coaching. And then my website is rewritecoaching.co. And right there on my homepage, you'll get a link to a quiz where you can see your prosperity path, kind of like how alignment are you with you on your path. You can run your chart there. So you'll get your human design chart and also a free mini energetic blueprint, which I think is just fabulous because it gives you your type, your strategy, and authority, the three things that I said that's all you need. So they're all right there. And then if you wanted to work with me more deeply, then there's buttons all over the place for you to book book a discovery call and we'll see how we can work together if I can help you grow, develop your business, whatever you need. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know what I'm doing this evening.
Run it, and then
Hell
tell
yeah.
me. I want to know what your type was.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this and being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a great time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast. Like most small businesses and podcasts, we rely heavily on word of mouth. So if you like what you heard today or in any episode, please share with your friends and colleagues and rate, subscribe, and comment on your favorite podcast platform. Till next time, cheers to your magical biz success.